for a rare May heat wave.
Records could start to fall today.
Trapped by water, the only road to a Utah woman's home is washed out.
Just hoping they can fix this road.
Summer swarms, why the wet winter will turn into the bug days of summer.
Because there's more water around, there's going to be more mosquitoes.
And a new app that could save lives during weather emergencies.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I am Angela Brown, and we begin this morning with more than a dozen tornadoes touched down Thursday night in 5 states, stretching from Colorado to Louisiana. The worst damage was in Mobile, Oklahoma, just south of the state capital. Trees and power lines came down and buildings were damaged. Reporter Jameson Kiefover standing by with a look at what happened.
This definitely seems like the worst situation we're seeing in Noble. This is just west of that donut shop that lost its roof, and part of its roof is on top of this home. There's also mangled power lines within this, and if you can see closely, there's even a power pole that landed on top of the house. You can see part of it is still in the ground, about half of it, and then the other half is on top of the roof. And people were out here seeing the damage late last night after this storm hit, and we had the chance to talk to some of them.
With this one, it's at night. You can't see it coming. Luckily, before the power went out, we had enough of the city lights to kind of see where the area of concern was. And with past tornadoes, that you just can't see them coming, and the ones at nighttime are real dangerous. No
injuries or deaths have been reported in Noble. A lot of it is just this damage to mainly Main Street, about 4 businesses there, this home, and then other homes scattered across.
The threat of storms continues today for much of the nation's midsection, with the biggest risk in eastern Nebraska and western Iowa. There's also a light risk for central Texas and again in Oklahoma. The chances of severe storms goes down tomorrow and on Sunday for Mother's Day. Meanwhile, West Coast temperatures are about to crank up. This early heat wave is expected to bring sizzling temperatures to parts of the Pacific Northwest and also central California. Meteorologist Rhonda Shelby explains the science behind the heat in Portland, Oregon.
It's a weather pattern we don't normally see until the summer. It's an upper level offshore flow and also a heat trough developing by the time we get into the weekend weather here. In fact, this heat trough will provide some very warm air coming up from California. That combined with this downsloping east wind that comes off the Cascades as the air compresses and warms and makes its way down into the valley, temperatures can rise as much as 20 to 25 degrees above normal. That extreme warming is happening in May, and we just really don't see that very often. In fact, the last time we had 3 days above 90 degrees, which could happen Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday, was back in 1987. In fact, records could start to fall today, with highs headed for the upper 80s as early as this afternoon.
Darren Hardwell went to the hardware store for one thing, an air conditioning unit.
When it gets hot like this, I'm not ready for it.
With the hot temperatures expected this weekend, Darren said he's not waiting until the last minute to prepare. He said he learned from his mistakes last year.
I'm going to be ready this year. Last year I waited too late, and the prices were sky high for the units.
The hardware store director said they typically see people panic buying AC units because they wait too long. Despite sales being a little slow right now, Ramon Cumberbatch said his store is starting to see more interest from customers.
Most people are hesitant so far because the weather's still really cool in the morning. But I've had calls today already for people asking for air conditioners, making we have it in stock inside store already.
These heat waves could potentially be dangerous for people, which is why Cumberbatch says it's important for people to get proper air conditioning.
The heat actually lasts inside your place longer than the actual heat is there. So if you have from sundown to sun up with actually no venting or air conditioning, the temperatures in your house can rise up to 100 degrees if you're not careful.
Well, plenty of folks will be looking for relief from the heat and the water, but as Joe English reports, officials warn the water is cold and can be dangerous.
Just look out and be careful. Don't swim without people around you.
Yeah, life jackets and swimming buddies, knowing the water, that's what rescue teams recommend as well. But if that's not the case, Corbett Fire is tuning up a brand new drone and ready to use their new Aqua Eye to find swimmers that could be in danger.
We can scan underwater to find a body or differentiate between a tree trunk or something like that. Wow. And so we actually used it last summer, and we were able to find somebody. Any edge we can get in a situation like that is a good thing.
A lot of the equipment on board this rig can be used on the water or on the trails. And people may be just as surprised by the conditions on the hiking trails as they are by the cold water.
So the conditions on the trails are not maybe what they were in 2018, for example.
Did you know that a heat wave during spring can be as damaging to your new plants as a spring frost? That heat can actually bake the chlorophyll right out of your plants, according to plant experts, and also cause the roots to stop growing. If it's hot enough, it can kill the plants altogether. And it's also important to note that plants are actually less tolerant of the heat in the spring than they can be later on in the year as they get used to the heat rising during the late spring and into summer. So it's important to note you need to protect your plants as much during a heat wave as you do during a spring frost.
After years of drought, some Californians can once again water their lawns and irrigate any day of the week. Cal Water submitted a filing this week with the state's Public Utilities Commission. It rescinds stage 2 of its water shortage contingency plan because of improved drought conditions and increased water supply. The move is under a 30-day review. Here's how Cal Water officials say the move will impact water levels.
With those irrigation users being able to utilize surface water this year, we expect that will decrease the amount of groundwater pumping and be beneficial to our water table.
Some water restrictions still remain in place, including watering only between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. For nearly 40 years, Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, and Virginia have been working together to try and restore the Chesapeake Bay. And now a new report suggests that those efforts might not be paying off. Brad Bell is on the shores of the Chesapeake Bay with more.
Joe Rush is an avid fisherman. Today was a good day in his kayak on the bay off of Sandy Point State Park. He caught and released a handful of striped bass. But he says days like this are increasingly rare.
I think a lot of people are giving up on the recreation of fishing.
Such stories are one way to judge the health of the Chesapeake. But now, dozens of scientists have worked together to release this new report looking back at the last 40 years of efforts to restore the bay. Their findings match the fishermen's observations.
The system did not respond the way we expected it to. We didn't know then what we know now.
Denise Wardrop of the Chesapeake Research Consortium is co-editor of the report. It finds only slight increases in water quality, pollution reduction not happening fast enough, changes in farming practices not yielding hoped-for results, and climate change hampering efforts even more.
Increasing temperature is a very big deal to the bay ecosystem.
Without change in restoration efforts, the report concludes there will be fewer crabs, even fewer fish, for people like Joe Rush.
You'd expect the Chesapeake Bay would be better.
Now, the report runs 133 pages, and it digs deep into the science. It could be seen as disappointing, distressing, but its authors hope that it serves as a guide for how to move forward with saving the bay. And they also say that it proves that without what was done, the bay would be in far worse shape.
The saying, a mother's love knows no bounds, apparently rings true for birds as well. This female osprey was shielding her eggs while being pelted by hail during a storm in Colorado Tuesday night. Boulder County Parks and Open Space captured this video from their live stream of the nest. Look at that. The good news, mama bird and her eggs are doing just fine this morning. And a reminder to check out our podcast, Off the Radar. On this week's episode, you can learn all about climate change and the difference in green space between high and low income neighborhoods. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcast. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we head to Utah, where melting snow is causing major flooding and road damage. And we'll take you to a new look at technology that can help you keep you safe during severe weather events. We'll be back.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. It's feeling like summer in the Northeast today, but without the humidity. Temps are going to surge back into the 70s and 80s. Once again, there is the chance for a shower or thunderstorm. First in the morning, then again during the afternoon. That chance is greatest in New England. Look how warm it is. Quite nice during the afternoon hours today. And Saturday looks great as well. We'll see a lot of sunshine. The only complaint might be a gusty northwest wind. Look for high temps again in the 70s. Enjoy.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor to start the morning. Sunshine. Nice warm afternoon coming as we wait on our next weather maker. Notice the showers, even a rumble of thunder down towards the tidewater of Virginia. Richmond points westbound by late in the day, and everybody stands a chance of some rain overnight into Saturday. So for our Friday, nice warm day once again. Low to mid 80s, maybe some upper 80s toward Richmond. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. A little warmer in Raleigh at 86 degrees, 79 Charleston, 75 Atlanta, looking at 87 in Mobile, 93 Tampa, 86 West Palm. We're looking at a mixture of sun and clouds. A few showers and thunderstorms will pop up across parts of Atlanta, up around Nashville through Tennessee, up around Chattanooga. It looks like we'll see some activity through Jacksonville as well. This will continue to move east through the evening rush hour. So if you have plans in the evening, check ahead, and they'll go into the Carolinas overnight.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
As snow continues to melt in Utah, the water is both flooding and also damaging some roads, trapping people inside of their homes. Jim Spiewak has one woman's story.
It is kind of a scary situation.
The water flowing by Allison Bowen's home has come down from its high point, but now the road down the street from her is buckling.
This year was the first time that it kind of shocked us that it was so bad.
We couldn't get to her home to talk with her in person, so we FaceTimed with Allison, who was at her home just a few miles into Ogden Canyon as crews continue to work on the buckled road.
Just hoping they can fix this road, because if they can't fix it, that kind of is a concern.
But more runoff could mean more issues, like if the water rises to the level of the road.
The river will explode, and then we are going to be stuck, because there's no way out if that happens.
Allison agrees we needed this snow, but feels we're now taking the brunt of what we asked for.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. We're done with it. Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. I don't think I've ever seen it so bad.
Crews did let people who live in the canyon pass by, and over the next few days, Allison says she's not going to just sit around and wait.
You just can't stop what you're doing and just sit and wait, and so you just hope for the best and hope you can get down.
Further north in Weber County, officials are also working on roads damaged by floodwaters. This morning, they are especially concerned about what could happen next week when they expect water levels to jump. People who live in the area say they are paying close attention to water levels and are prepared to evacuate if they have to. A large portion of the country also saw a record-breaking winter with heavy snow and rain. That wet weather leaving behind a bug problem. Abigail Verowick is in Reno, Nevada with a look at how the winter weather is leading to a pest-packed summer.
It's that time of year. Residents are preparing for what could be a pest-packed summer.
The wet weather hasn't been as big a change as the cold, extended cold winter that we had. That has slowed everything down, and now everything's starting to pick up.
These not-so-little guys are called Mormon crickets. And the Department of Agriculture says they just started hatching recently, a whole 2 months behind schedule. The weather has also brought some critters out earlier, too. Sierra Pest Control says they started getting calls for ants at the beginning of April. Usually those calls don't start until the end of May. Ground insects aren't the only ones who could see an uptick.
We have a wetter winter is the mosquitoes are going to lay eggs on water, and they're going to hatch out because there's more water around. There's going to be more mosquitoes. So what happens is that creates an environment where spiders are going to be able to thrive because they're going to have more food.
With the primary disease-carrying mosquitoes active in the mornings and evenings, that's when officials recommend getting prepared.
So those times are especially important to keep yourself in your home covered up. If not, we do recommend any type of over-the-counter insect repellent.
The wet winter also has experts hopeful Sierra trees will withstand bark beetles better than previous dry years.
So the healthier the trees are from having more water, the better they can resist insect populations that might become a problem.
There's a possibility of flash flooding in Austin, Texas this weekend. With that in mind, local officials are letting people know about a new tool that will help them during weather emergencies. The tool is a free app that can help EMS locate you in the event of an emergency. All you need to know are 3 words. Fred Cantu explains.
Dispatch, this is engine 606. Do you have a what 3 words for this patient's location yet?
What 3 words is in the call text? Deviance, quicksand, pounce.
Appreciate, thank you. Be advised, we did put in a what 3 words for the parking lot nearest the patient. The parking lot we're showing to be login, issue, and tunic.
The what 3 words they keep mentioning come from a phone app by the same name. I spoke with Austin Travis County EMS about it.
But the idea is that it really does pin down a location for someone who has no idea where they are.
Absolutely, yes. The app breaks down the entire globe into 10-foot by 10-foot squares. Each of those squares has a unique identifier. It's a 3-word address, if you would, that will pinpoint their location to within a 10-foot by 10-foot square.
And giving first responders a clear, precise location of your emergency can save precious time.
That way, the location of the patient, if we need to get to someone that, say, has been swept away in a car during a flash flooding event or something of that nature, it would certainly expedite the process.
Which means now is the time to learn more before the rains come.
Especially in front of this weather event that we're expecting this weekend, it would certainly be a good opportunity for those out in the community to download the app.
Captain Nowak tells me the What 3 Words app can be more precise than sharing a pin drop, and certainly more precise than trying to read off the longitude and latitude from your phone's compass.
Earlier this week, a rocket was launched from New Zealand carrying 2 small cube satellites into space. Those CubeSats will be instrumental in the upcoming hurricane season. Emily Gracie spoke to a scientist from NASA to find out how this tropics mission will change the way we track tropical cyclones.
And so what makes tropics different in this sense is that it's a mission, so it's a bunch of satellites. It's a constellation of satellites. It's actually 4 satellites plus 1 is up there actually as a pathfinder to give us kind of early look data. But it's basically 4 satellites to go up there and fly in these special orbits that allow us to effectively monitor tropical cyclones. And we can kind of do that with what we have with the satellites already, but the big difference is that with 4 and flying them in special orbits, specifically targeting tropical cyclones, we're going to get better time evolution of the storm as well. So we're going to get to be able to see the storms with a higher time revisit, a higher time frequency than we can with our normal polar orbiting satellites that we have right now.
Could you see them with the naked eye? How close are they?
No, you cannot see them with the naked eye. This is what's actually another thing that's really interesting about these satellites is that these are CubeSats. So these our normal weather satellites are anywhere from the size of a refrigerator to a small school bus. These are CubeSats, and they are literally the size of a loaf of bread. But the advantage of being smaller and cheaper is that we can build multiples of them and then put them up and put these constellations where it's not just like basically twice per day like we would get with a normal weather satellite, a normal polar orbiting weather satellite. You can put them in these configurations to where you're able to, basically target. And this is really a science experiment. So we're able to put them in this configuration specifically to target tropical cyclones.
How immediate are you going to get data, and is it going to be useful to forecasting, to observation this season, the 2023 season?
Yeah, that was a huge priority of ours. We are also working with our partners throughout, well, the government and industry to make sure that we're trying to figure out how to make this data as available and accessible to the Hurricane Center, to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. How to make this data readily available as quickly as possible so that they can use it in their decision support process, just like they do all the other satellite data that's out there.
And time now for a short break. As we take to the skies over Buffalo Hills Elk Ranch in Ravenna, Nebraska.
Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Today's weather is going to be pretty decent across most of the Midwest if you like the rain. Good napping weather. For your day today, we got scattered showers and thunderstorms across a lot of the Midwest for the day today. Heading into the day tomorrow, we'll continue to see these showers and thunderstorms. Not everywhere. A lot of Kansas staying dry for the day tomorrow, and same for Missouri. That rain just kind of sticks around. It's not moving fast, but we are dealing with a few pockets of heavy rain still Sunday.
Well, good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Our forecast today across the region are going to be on the lookout for a few severe storms from Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. You see late day how the storms blow up here with some hail, strong wind gust potential, flooding rain potential, especially central and south Texas. And as we work our way through the day on Saturday, still leftover storms possible. That'll actually continue into Sunday, Mother's Day Sunday, as well with the forecast.
Well, hi there, everybody, and TGIF to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Heat starting to build in the west. We're ending up in the 90s today from Palm Desert back to Las Vegas. Big thunderstorms brewing over the Intermountain West. That all comes to play in the Pacific Northwest as we head into Mother's Day weekend. Big area of high pressure, and that's going to coax that heat up the I-5 corridor into Seattle and Portland for our Friday afternoon. And that's the scene from here.
Hurricane season starts on June 1st, but as Jennifer Collins explains, the first storm of the season may have actually formed back in January.
The National Hurricane Center announced that the first storm of the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season actually formed in mid-January. It was a low-pressure area off the northeastern United States coast that should have been designated as a subtropical storm. Now, it will not take a name. It will remain unnamed. However, as the first storm of the season, the next storm will be the second storm. It will, however, take the first name of the season of Arlene, and if it begins as a tropical depression, it'll be designated as Tropical Depression 2. Now, this storm formed in the northern Atlantic in mid-January over fairly warm waters of the Gulf Stream. However, it's not unheard of to hear of January storms in the Atlantic Basin. In fact, we've had 6 cases since records began in 1851, including the most recent Hurricane Alex back in 2016. That formed on January 12th. Now, last season, the 2022 season, was the only season in the past 7 years where we did not have a named first storm before the season begins on June 1st.
Thank you so much for joining us. Monday on the National Weather Desk, we take a ride in a hot air balloon to find out how weather influences when these giants can take flight. I'm Angela Brown. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here